My name is Danny, and today I'm going to be showing you how to build a mobile app. So, of course, many of us, if not all of us, have phones. You might have an iPhone, an Android, stuff like that. And with these devices, they all have applications on them. And these applications you can utilize to do a variety of things. You can maybe have an app for Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, so on and so forth. There's plenty of them out there, and they have a function to do something. And how do we make these applications? Well, today I'm going to let you know that you can go ahead and make these applications utilizing JavaScript. Specifically, JavaScript utilizing the React Native library. And alongside with that, there's an environment that you can utilize the React Native library, which is called Expo CLI. And then further on, to actually deploy them and install on your device is called ESA, which is within Expo. So that was a lot in just one little bin, but let's get started with just React Native. What is React Native? How do we use it? So I'm going to navigate to that here. Let's see, and I kind of already started. So React Native is essentially, if you're familiar with React, React Native is a way for you to build a user interface and deploy it to iOS devices and also to Android devices and also to the web, which is really fun. So you can go ahead and do that with JavaScript. And if you're familiar with just plain old React, you're essentially utilizing the React ecosystem to build these apps essentially. And it's pretty fun. The React Native documentation is pretty good at letting you know how to build things. So you can always click on Get Started. And before you actually continue, I would recommend that you understand React or at least understand a little bit of JavaScript. If you don't, feel free to join along with the ride. Either way, we'll still see an app being created by the end of this, hopefully. We should. So welcome to the start of your React Native journey. That's great. Let's kind of skip through this because I'm just going to let you know my interpretation of how to run this. So here's an interactive example on how to run React Native. There's something called a snack, I believe, which is what this is called. So this is essentially a little instance of an app that's running on this website here. So as you can see here, we are importing React. And this pretty much looks like a React application, just your standard React application, except in this case, we have the React Native package here that we're importing into this file. So what does React Native have in it? Well, React Native, actually, let me start with this. So normally within web development, we usually utilize HTML, and in React, regular React, we utilize JSX. But in this case, for actually deploying to iOS and to Android devices, we need to actually be using their native view code. So to actually display something on the page, on the screen essentially, you need to utilize their native components that they have available. And luckily for us, React Native already compiles that from both iOS and Android into one essentially component for us that this text and this view components. And there's so many components out there. Really majority, like all components, most or if not all components that you can do in web, you can definitely do in React Native in the views essentially. So yeah, so this is essentially your standard React app. You're importing React here. You can kind of consider these components. I think they are kind of components in React. So this text and view, you're importing them from the React Native library, and then you're using them here inside of this application. So of course, in your standard React application, you're going to return the view of what you're going to send to the user. And in this case, React Native utilizes the view, the idea of a view. So essentially everything that you see on the page here that's displayed is a view. So you might have a view of a button, a view of text. A view, you might, if you're from a web development background, a view is essentially a div, is at least that's what I took from this. Essentially a div. And yeah, this is how you can export an app. You could even say like, hello world. And then after a while, you can see here it says hello world. So very nice. You might be tempted to say, go ahead and put in an H1 tag here. If you're trying to make a really big like hello world. And you could try this. And again, there's a little error there. And it does work right here. But if you try to compile this to your phone or to any like mobile device, this will not actually work. That's why we have to utilize the components from the React Native library to do this. So again, this will work. It works right here, luckily for us. But again, if you're going to try to compile this to if you're going to compile this to a mobile device, this would not work. So make sure you have your hello world and inside of here to go to all platforms. I prefer to develop my applications inside of my code editor. So I don't think you really can do it on the website here. So let's go ahead and figure out how we can set up our development environment. How are we going to develop this? So what's even better, I mentioned this earlier, this Expo, company. So Expo is a company that essentially is it's a set of packages that are available for you to utilize that makes it even easier to compile your React Native code and see it on your phone immediately. And not only that, but allows you to install it on your phone after you're done, or even like push it to the App Store if you have everything configured, like your Apple and Google developer stuff, your licenses. So I'm gonna go, and now I'm gonna transfer into the development portion of this. So I'm in my React Native library, and from here I'm going to actually do this right here. So make sure to install Expo CLI. I already have this, but I'll do it again. So you can copy that, paste it in here. I forgot, it's a little different in my case here, not on my Mac. Yep, there we go. So you're going to install this Expo CLI package globally, so you have access to all the commands essentially. Once this is done, it will take a second. Just because in Bash it doesn't actually show the text of the process of installing it, but it is installing. So luckily that's going to take a lot of that. It's going to leverage a lot of that from us. And then once we go ahead and install it, then you can actually run this command expo init awesome project, or whatever you want to call it. In my case, in my specific environment, I will have to utilize some flags. Just because my Bash isn't exactly is not in an interactive mode. And you'll see that in just a second. So expo init, and I'm going to call this first project, and I'm going to do -t, and I'm going to say blank here. All right, we're back. And now it's installed. It's pretty quick. So now what you can do is I'm going to navigate to my first app, and from here I'm going to open my code editor. So code dot, and you'll see that there's several items here. So you can see there's an app.js, package.json. Something you'll usually do with going to projects, you'll look at the package.json. So you'll see it configured for us first app. There's this main. So essentially this main is going to be, this is always going to correspond to the name app.js. So make sure that your entrance to your application is called app.js. That's what this node modules Expo is doing. And there are several scripts here that we can run. What you'll probably want to do is use this first script start. So I'm actually gonna go from, instead of here, I'm gonna go to the integrated terminal. I found it a lot nicer generally. And actually I'm gonna bring this over to the right. And now I'm gonna type in npm start. And once I do this, Expo is essentially gonna start up some developer tools in your server. So right now what just opened, this is essentially developer tools for you to see how essentially how your code will compile. So if you want, you can, if you have Android Studio, or if you're running this on Mac, you can get, I think in Xcode there's an iOS simulator. You can utilize that. There's also the web browser. So if I click on this, it's going to start compiling again, when you first have Expo, it creates some basic code for you. So again, this is what we saw earlier. There is a function here, application, there's a view layer. So there's view, text, status bar, and then there's styles right here. So we didn't see this earlier, but what's really nice with React Native, you can get a style sheet, and you don't need a CSS file. You can just put all your styles in here, and then each of those styles is for each JS file, which is really nice. And I'll to the right. I'll get to that. First, let me go back to the web. So this is essentially, it now finished bundling all the JavaScript, and now you can actually go to your first app, and oh, it's very white. Sorry about that. So essentially that was the first application that you saw there. Again, because React Native can compile to Android, web, and iOS. But what if you want to see this on your phone? Well, with Expo, I'll put a link in the description, but you can actually download on Android and on iOS devices. You can download the Expo Go app. So it's a way for you to compile your code from here into your iOS app. So what essentially this QR code, you want to go ahead and, get your phone, make sure you have Expo Go installed. You're going to go and scan it, which I have just done, and now I'm waiting to open it. It's going to say opening project. Hopefully you can see that. And you can see on the screen right here, it's saying building JavaScript bundle. So it's building the bundle for the mobile app. And make sure that you're on the same Wi-Fi connection or local area network, so that way you can actually see that. So you can see here, I'm currently on local area network. Hopefully I don't have to, cover any of this. I'm not too sure, honestly. And you can see here, hopefully you can see it. I don't know. Essentially compiled to my phone, which is really nice. So you essentially don't need to have a Mac. You don't need to have an Android. You don't need to have a Mac, specifically a Mac or a Windows device to compile to either version. You can utilize Expo to view this on anything. So it's really convenient because I have a Windows, but yet I have a iPhone. So it's very convenient for that. Yeah, so let's navigate to our first app. So for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just mostly going to show this on web. But then towards the end, I'm going to show you how you can actually compile it to iOS and whatnot. But you just saw, I just had it on iOS. So first, you might want to close your eyes for a second, or I'll lower the brightness. Actually, I don't know if I can lower the brightness here. So I'm gonna go here and gonna go to the inspect tools and make sure that it's in mobile. So this is now in like mobile mode, you might say. So I'm gonna keep it confined to here. And now let's navigate back to here. And let's develop something really basic, for instance. Maybe something that I would want to do is make a button, for instance. So you can always grab a button from the React Native library. So I'm going to say button here. And again, you can go to the React Native website and see the whole catalog of components they have available. And maybe something I'm going to grab here is I'm going to say button. And then specifically the button, there's a lot of errors there. Specifically, the button component takes in two different props. It takes in on press. So this is going to be the function that is executed when you press the button. And it also takes in a prop of title. This prop of title is going to be the text that's inside of the button. So you're going to say save. And maybe this on press is going to be a function that is going to print to the console. So I'm going to say console.log, hello. And let this reload so you can see web bundling is complete. So now you can see there's a save button. And if I go to the console, if I press save, you should see it saying hello. So very simple, really nice. Yeah, so essentially there's so many things you could do with this here. I don't really want to get it too much into development of, specific apps. You should, as long as you know React and as long as you know where to look for the component library, you can really build anything, as far as I'm aware. But I'm going to show you an app I've already developed, and I actually already deployed it. So it's really fun. CD code, React Native, and I made an application called Mathy. So essentially what this application does is it is like when you were like a kid maybe and you were doing math tests, not necessarily math tests, but I think they were called times tables. Essentially myself and my classmates, we would see how fast you can do them, and the teacher would give you a prize maybe or something like that. But essentially I want to do something like that, but for myself because I just want to practice math more. So same thing. This is pretty much exactly the same setup as before. You might see some additional files called EAS. We'll get to that in a little bit. But we have this app.json, and of course there are several things here. As you can see, I got my React Native, and there's plenty of items that I'm bringing from the React Native library to use. As you can see, I'm also, maybe not using some of them. Let's see here. There's a create stack navigator. Of course, you can go to the documentation and learn about this, but essentially this is a way for you to go to navigate to different pages on your application. So I'm going to go down, and you can see this is my whole application. I have a game, card, home. I created an app navigator. So this is how you can do that. And there's a bunch of styles that are associated with it. And just like a regular React app, I created a components library where this could be reused. And here are multiple problem cards. So you can imagine, actually, I'm just going to start this. I'm going to say npm start. And now it's starting here. And we're going to give it just 1 second. And if we can bundle it for the web browser. So just give it 1 second here to bundle. Waiting for demo. Okay, cool. So this is my math application. As you can see, there's a plus, there's minus, and a time. So if you click on plus, I'm not going to do math right now because I'm probably very bad at it right now. Maybe like 101, 23. This is essentially a math application. 30. Okay, and it tells you you completed the problem set. You can always go back and so on and so forth. So, ooh, that was scary. So essentially, I want to go ahead and bring this. Sorry, I'm navigating a little bit. I want to go ahead and essentially build this application that I have, but now I want to see this on my phone, or I'm going to say, hey, I think this looks great. I think at this point in the app, I want to go ahead and put this on the App Store. So again, Expo has another service available that's called EAS. So it's called Expo Application Services. So what you're going to be doing is make sure you could go to EAS, and you could go to Introduction, maybe EAS Build, Start, and it's going to see a lot of this here, creating your first build. Okay, right here. So you're going to go to create your first build, and you're going to navigate to this Expo, this EAS CLI. So this is a way that you can grab your Expo, essentially your project, and then go ahead and deploy it. So let's do npm install EAS CLI. And again, I already have this installed, but I'm just going to do it again just to show you. So paste it here, install it. It might just take a second, maybe, but I already have this installed, so it shouldn't take too long, hopefully. So once that is done downloading, make sure that you're logged in, so you can do EAS login and do EAS who am I. I'm not going to do that because I already know I'm logged in, or maybe I will. So I'll say Expo who am I, and it's going to say me. So that's Dichashon. That is me. You can go ahead and configure your project here to specify your build type. So are you building to iOS or Android? So now I'm going to say EAS build configure. And now that I do that, it's going to say to which ones you want to do. It's pretty simple. You could say all, and then now you're ready to build essentially. Once you're done with that, you could essentially just do EAS build. So let me go ahead and do that. Oh, and actually before I do that, really quick, let me look at one. So let's just say you want to have this app like right now. Instead of putting it on the App Store, what if you want this app right now on your phone? So I'm going to do it for iOS. For Android, I'm not going to do that just yet. Well, I won't do it because I don't have an Android phone. So you want to navigate to this internal distribution. So this is essentially a way to say, it's like, hey, look at that. So there's programs called Test Flight and Google Play Beta that are available on those platforms that'll allow you to have test users for your application. But sometimes, of course, they can take a long time to do, configure, whatever. So in this case, what we're going to be using is an iOS. We're going to install to iOS, but we're going to give it essentially a signing configuration. So make sure to configure a build profile. So if we navigate to back to our code to eas.json, you're going to see some properties here. So make sure that you have this, let's see, preview distribution internal. Make sure you have that set. Let's see, in addition to that, and again, of course, there's Android instructions here as well if you want to follow that along. Let's keep going here, configure app signing. Don't really worry about this too much. You have to run this command here in particular, EAS device create. So what you're going to do is go to EAS device create. And this part is a little bit, so I'm going to say, yes, utilize this, yes, and that. I'm using my, utilizing, what do I call it? I'm utilizing the Apple developer way of doing it. So again, if you're Android, follow the other instructions here. So this is a really easy way to do it. You just have to type in website, follow this QR code, and follow the instructions that are on there. And now you can actually register your device to utilize for this. So now once that is done, so actually I'll just go ahead and do it with my phone here just so you can have an idea of what it should look like. So I'm going to scan this, and hopefully it doesn't look too bad from the camera perspective. So let's see here. So it should show a page, something like this, set up your device for internal distribution. So let me go to, and it should give you instructions essentially on how to do it. Let's keep going. Install profile. Yeah, so essentially you want to just go ahead and follow along with that. and it should be installing the profile on your phone. If you on my phone, I found it a little difficult. You should go to more for your iPhone just in case if you don't see the install your profiles section. But finally, the last step that you need to do in order to deploy this is go ahead and run EAS build. I believe that is the correct one. So I'm going to do that. And yep, you can follow along. You can say all. It's going to say Android build, iOS build, and it's going to say my Apple account. And I already have a key store for Google Play. So that was not too hard for me to do. So I already have my my iOS stuff set up. And make sure that if you wanted to deploy to the App Store, make sure that you have signed up for an Apple developer account and a Google Play account if you want to do Google stores. So it really depends on what you want to do. Let's see anything else. And yeah, if you should see it on your dashboard, you should see in builds. For instance, you can see here, I already have my iOS App Store build and my Android Play Store build. So all these are ready essentially. And now luckily on my phone, I already have the app available here. Let me navigate to there. So again, now my phone here, I can go to the app and click plus and do my math and whatnot. Finally, in summary, what you are doing is step one, you're doing your npm install globally of Expo CLI. Next, you are initializing the project with Expo init and then your project name. Sometimes you have to do -t blank. Step three, make your application. Essentially, that's going to take the longest, most likely. Step four, you're going to be doing the EAS install. So npm i-g EAS CLI, and then from there you're going to be running your builds, configuring to provision your devices. So whether it's a phone, iOS, or Android, you can configure there. You're going to configure to those platforms, and then finally you're going to run your EAS build to run your builds and whatnot. And yep, that is it for today. Thank you for joining me, and if you have any questions, put them in the comments below, I suppose. So yep, that's about it. See ya. Bye.